Welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me. It's February 5th, 2025, and it is Wednesday. That means that it is Discord discussion day this evening at 5 p.m. That is Eastern Daylight Time after Greg's live stream. So if you would like to join us, if you don't have a link already, please feel free to ask me either in the comments or you can reach me via email. We will be discussing things such as the Asian trade influence, the South Korean government, more on the sovereign wealth fund and why, Palantir, what it is in reality, and why J-Powell and the current administration in the United States are technocrat friends. So if you're interested in things such as that, have something that you would like to speak of, please feel free to join us there. And with this, let's go ahead and get started with the markets this morning. There's quite a bit going on and moving. So, as usual, we'll start with our favorite risk indicator, the MMRI, below 300. So, it's come down from the extreme area down into high territory still. This is still a massive amount of risk. So, while it has come down, there are many things going on in the background that it's still, as I would call it, a black swan season, meaning that there could be any one event, if large enough, could tip this market severely. It is headline driven, and there are some major things going on that we're going to discuss some of these today. So, with this fear greed meter is down. It's at 39, showing a bit more fear in the retail sector. Now, the driver today is fear and hesitation still. We are expecting the jobs and employment data coming out. We'll have some Fed speakers and we'll go over the calendar in a moment. But we've got the 10-year yield has dropped down below 4.5% ahead of the jobs report we're expecting. So it's all about the jobs report this morning, as well as some of the earnings reports for larger companies. So US job openings yesterday in the JOLTS did decline to 7.6 million. This is a very low number. So with this, we've got a bit of a sour sentiment at the moment. We did have the relative strength of the dollar pulled back. Now, as I said yesterday, was acting as a major wrecking ball to other currencies. And as it does that, it affects markets globally. So because of that having such a massive move, it did eclipse very rarely the 10-year yield movements because we generally watch the debt markets. Globally, that's what others watch as well. But now that the relative strength of the dollar, or the Dixie as we call it, is down at 107.4, it's even below 108. So back to a manageable level, if you will. We're also keeping an eye on the yen because, as you know, the yen has had massive movement as well. They carry a large amount of the debt and they can affect United States markets simply with movement in what they do with their central banks. Now, with this, that was quite a bit to throw at you. Going into cryptocurrencies, they did have a drop, kind of touched the 92,000 level and recovering a bit. So 97.8, I expect to kind of range between the 92 and 100 level. If it breaks either of these, we'll be watching for further movement. We had a couple of things happen with XRP as well as others that we'll go over in the crypto section. Now, the market right now, this is relatively level. The NASDAQ actually, I expect a bit more weakness. Google came out with earnings that were disappointing with their cloud infrastructure. And we've got a few other things going on now. Gold is major story. It is approaching resistance, but almost at 2,900 now. It's really been the story the past couple of days. Central banks buying it hand over fist. We've got volatility index increasing again. And we've got the futures showing there's a bit of trouble ahead. So with this, the only other story here is oil. Now, oil could fluctuate massively. It's at a support at the moment. And depending on what happens with negotiations that are going on globally, in particular between Russia and Ukraine, we'll see what happens with that, as well as tariff wars between China regarding energy Canada has opened up with this and what the United States does. So crude oil could be a massive mover, urging caution on that one. Now, the calendar. This morning, as I said, we're getting ADP employment very shortly, probably by the time I release this video, or that you get to see it. We'll also be seeing PMI and a slew of governments, not government, they may as well be, but Fed speakers a little bit later, and they are going to kind of manage the markets as they do. Now, tomorrow morning, prior to the market open, we're getting initial jobless claims. So I would like to say with that, we've got kind of a tie-in story. Now, this is public sector, meaning government jobs. But the CIA is sending buyout offers to the entire workforce. Now, some of them may be exempt, and some of them, their jobs may not be safe anyway. So, cutting down government sector jobs, I think this is a large balance out, but we'll be watching more unemployment moving forward. So, with this, these are the earnings coming in. We've got some significant ones. We'll be watching some auto industry, Disney, Ford, and Toyota. Also, Boston Scientific for a couple of their innovations we've been speaking about. Uh, Aflac Insurance. We're also looking forward to, prior to the market open Thursday, are a few. So, with these, if we've got some trades on any of these, earnings coming in. So, the moving stories for this morning. First off, this graphic and a poll coming in kind of shows that the knowledge level on economics and what is going on globally is quite low. For Americans, that 45% understand what tariffs are and how they work. They are taxes imposed on imports paid by the importer. What does that mean? In short, an easier way to put this is if you are, let's say, McDonald's in a foreign country and you're selling your hamburgers to United States, then they impose a tax on that burger to make it more expensive. You have to pay a higher price for McDonald's hamburgers than perhaps you're going to pay less for Wendy's locally. So that's the idea, is that you would purchase local goods, being that they would become less expensive. So just a little primer for some of you that might be new to tariffs, because it is kind of something that is not taught in schools. So with this, Amazon and Temu, these, because they depend on Chinese goods, their stocks are currently dropping. They're under pressure because the USPS, United States Postal Service, is no longer accepting Chinese parcels. And a lot of this is because of what is going on with these tariffs and the uncontrolled costs, also as well as shipping. So we've got Honda and Nissan. Japan's Nissan is set to call off this merger talks with the rival Honda, so that could crater and have an effect with that stock as well. Now, we've got Santorini is in Greece. They're having major earthquakes, and this is just more of a note, less of economic, but a lot of instability below the surface there, literally this time, as they're facing massive earthquakes, and they're continuing. So we're going to watch that, because that could also affect a large part of tourism, aside from the safety. Now, United States aid staff placed on leave and ordered home from overseas posts. This is a large story because USAID is a tremendously corrupt form of, if you will, influence that United States has been using over foreign governments for some time now. So this is kind of a shift with that. Now, we've got something else coming out. I've been speaking a little bit about the California wildfires in relation to insurance industries, how it could crack those. Now, a little bit level up is how this is a major disaster for the banks, because the banks are heavily invested in these insurance industries. So if the insurance industries crumble, the banks could take a major hit to these as well. Now, along with this, we are in global conditions now and headline news. We've got South Korea inflation is picking up on higher energy and food costs. And I want to point this out for two reasons. First off, the South Korean inflation is not locally caused. It's because of a few other factors, namely one of these with USAID and the corruption that just happened recently. I have to be very careful how I word this, but there are some new shifts going on there. Second point I want to make is that they're calculating their inflation with their energy and food costs. Now, if you are not aware, the inflation for the United States has chosen to strip out energy and food costs from their calculations of inflation because they're saying that they're too volatile. Now, everybody knows, and I have a problem with this for a long time, that these are the actual costs that you're paying, but they take them out of the equation. So, at any rate, going into our cryptocurrencies, we've got a couple of things here. They are introducing what they're calling the Genius stablecoin bill. So, Genius is this little clever acronym that they have come up with. But what it boils down to is that they're proposing that issuers with market cap above $10 billion can comply with Federal Reserve regulations that they would be able to be defined as stable coins. Now, what is this doing in the background? Well, issuers below that threshold would be regulated by the states independently. Now, the problem with this is that there are only two stable coins that fit the bill right now as it is labeled, and this would be Tether, or also known as USDT, and Circle's USD coin. So, kind of opens the doors for those to be stablecoin, and everything else is being shut out. Now, in other news for cryptocurrency, there was an issue with XRP. Ledger did go down for about an hour. They did maintain consensus and nothing was lost. However, this is very negative for that temporarily. We'll see what happens. Now, I would like to mention BitDeer. They've just made a move as a company, purchasing a 101 megawatt gas power plant in Alberta, Canada. They're saying for Bitcoin mining. The dual purpose of this, if you've been here for any point of time, is also artificial intelligence mining, as they can both be used. They need similar environments, if you will, with large amount of energy and a large amount of computer processing. So this just kind of opened up this company. I think it's very positive for them, and they can kind of cross mine this as also stabilize their cost of energy moving forward. So very positive for that company. Now, I'd like to bring up one other thing, and this is about Google. The parent company Alphabet did a report last night talking about their cloud computing and that they kind of missed on their revenues. They did dump quite a bit. That's going to hit the NASDAQ and technology sector this morning. But they erased the promise not to use artificial intelligence technology for weapons or surveillance. This is multiple surveillance, including domestically. So I just want to point that out because, in my opinion, that's key. Couple of more things before I let you go. United States defense companies, namely this one down here, making huge profits on Ukraine. Zelensky is very upset about this, as if no one told him and got him the memo that that's what that was all about in the first place. Now we've got them in talks with Russia. Kremlin is commenting on talks with quote unquote illegitimate, despite the Ukrainian leader's lack of legal authority because he was supposed to step down, and they have not had official elections. But they are in talks to see if there can be a bit of a cleanup there, so to speak. Now, the background story on this is that Trump has made comments about the cleanup and reconstruction, and this is with Israel going on in Gaza. So between all of this going on, we are going to be looking at reconstruction costs going forward and who will pay for those. Now, the two large contenders, obviously, in the West are either the EU or the United States. So watch this being headlines in the next coming days, and they're going to affect the markets going forward. because this is going to be a huge boon. We'll move from defense contractors into the reconstruction. And I just want to leave this story here. The Helios laser, very interesting. A lot of people that have been telling me these types of things do not exist. And this is coming directly from the horse's mouth. So with this, I just want to wish you all a wonderful trading day in general. Hope to see you in Discord tonight. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.